We both picked Florida to beat Tennessee. We both thought it would be closer, though, and TK through halftime, it was looking that way. It was 17-14, and even late in that game, Tennessee had some opportunities to make that game a little bit closer. They missed a field goal at halftime that would have made it 17-17 at half, but I was impressed by how this Tennessee team played, TK, to be so decimated by the transfer portal and all the scandals and accusations that Tennessee had after Jeremy Pruitt left and Josh Heupel comes on board. It showed that at least for the first 11, they were playing right there with Florida. I just don't know if the depth is there for Tennessee at this point.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Let's be real. The gap of talent, I think, is large. So I think that played a big issue. But to your point, I was happy to see those cats go out there and compete and get after it. Hendon Hooker, I think he might have grew up a little in this game. I think that he played really, really sound, really well. But I think the biggest takeaway to me is that Florida defense. I think that they look really good. I think they proved that they can, slow guys down and lock in on a quarterback that has a potential to, beat you on the ground.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I thought Hendon Hooker, though, 20 first downs for Tennessee. They did pretty well, getting up into that number where it's a lot. There's a lot of offenses that really struggled in the SEC. But I thought that, I mean, he hit a long touchdown pass or had a couple of touchdown passes, but a long touchdown pass early on in the game, and to Javonte Payton, and I think they got Tryon Evans working later in that game, running the football. They just couldn't capitalize, and finish off drives. And like you said, Cooper Mays ended up going out, and then they had to bring the backup center in. We said Cooper Mays would be a big factor, and he was. But in terms of, once he went out, that depth and things like that, and not just that position on their defense. Tennessee's defense was playing really well, especially in that first half. But Emory Jones and that big offensive line just kind of wore down Tennessee throughout the game. I think it'll be interesting, TK, to see Florida against a team that has a lot of depth. Now, I know Alabama supposedly has a lot of depth, but TK, you and I are both a little suspect on that Alabama defense at this point. And boy, what a matchup we're going to have to talk about with Ole Miss and Alabama later in this week. But I think, TK, the worst kept SE secret from this game is the fact that Florida is not – I don't think Florida is going to be someone that has a dynamic passing game in this deal. It's all dependent on Emory Jones and him being able to run the football. If he cannot run the football, and I say he because he once again was the leading rusher for this team, TK. There are two quarterbacks that are leading rushers for this team. How problematic do you think that's going to be for Florida going forward this year as they play some better opponents? And it starts with a good Kentucky defense this weekend.
Man, honestly, that was another one of my takeaways. I think that Emory Jones got better last week as well. I think that he played better. I think that it's starting to click for him. It was the first game that he hadn't thrown an interception this year.
Yeah.
It was the first game since Tebow that they had a quarterback go for 200 passing and 100 yards rushing. So I think that says a little bit. I think it says that he's getting poised. I think it says that he's getting comfortable. And I think it says that, that it's his team. We talked about AR-15 and that whole debacle. I think he'll get some. I think AR-15 will get some playing time, but I think Emory Jones has shown that nah, kid, it's my team.
No doubt, and like I said, they're performing great, but I just worry about the style of Florida's play under Dan Mullen with Emory Jones this year, because obviously he's hard to stop, but you're going to have defenses, and I think Kentucky's defense is one of these that are very, very tough, very fast defenses that, look at the disparity, TK, in their rushing this week. Emory Jones, 15 carries for 144 yards. Their next best rushing threat is their running back, Damian Pierce, 8 carries for 62 yards. So if they can, if a team has a game plan to shut down Emory Jones, like that's he's not going to run on them. I worry, can the pure passing game come along enough to, if they say Emory Jones's legs are not going to beat us, can a team, put 6 in the box, man up across the board, and win those battles? And I think that's what Kentucky and Georgia will try to do to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the recipe. I mean, with a guy that struggled, you want him to beat you. You don't want to make it easy for you. You don't want him to sit back and read and You don't want to do that. So you're gonna throw some things at him. You're gonna throw the kitchen sink at him to make sure that hell he's ready. One, and you're gonna try to make him beat you with his arm. You're gonna take the lesser of the two evils.
Absolutely. I think another thing that comes out of this game is that Josh Heupel has Tennessee going in the right direction. I really do. I think he's a good coach. I think he's got a good system, good plan in place. He's just got to get the players in there, TK, to replenish that team, whether that's through the transfer portal or recruiting or stuff like that. I'm sure that he'll do a good job of kind of replenishing that roster. But impressed with Tennessee, at least early on. A lot better game. I predicted it would be 31-21, so I was one score off from each side from getting that one.